Good morning, everyone. Thank you, leader. Thank you. Welcome to what we certainly anticipate and hope for and long for is that this will be today will dispose of the final calendar of the House Commerce Committee for this year. And with that, Mr. Clark, could you call the roll for us?
Representatives Alexander, Barrett, Boyd, Burkhart, Camper, Clemens, Faison, Freeman, Garrett, Hale, Hardaway, Haston, Hazelwood, Holsclaw, Johnson, Lynn, Marsh, Moon, Powers, Sparks, Thompson, Towns, Vital, Williams, Zachary, Vice Chairman Bricken, Chairman Vaughn. Mr. Chairman, you have a quorum.
Thank you, sir. Not only a quorum, it's a fine quorum indeed. Probably one of the highest quality quorums I've seen this year. Before we get started, do we have personal orders from anyone? Anyone searching? Bueller, Clemens, Bueller. Seeing none. We're going to get on to our final calendar immediately. Representative Butler, House Bill 280. Motion and second has been heard. It's up to you, Mr. Sponsor, to do your best here in front of us today.
Chairman and committee, this is a simple bill. It simply increases the pay for the Cumberland Utility District, the Plateau Utility District, the Roane Central Utility District, and the Watts Bar Utility District monthly payment from $300 to $500 per meeting. That's really all this bill does. So with that, I will renew my motion.
Thank you, sir. Just curious, these folks working hard enough to get a 50%, 40% raise?
I believe they are.
Well, good. Glad to hear that. Any other questions? I got Representative Sparks.
I was just curious, did your county commission ask you to run this? I'm just curious, or any of them?
Mr. Sponsor.
The utility district requested this.
Do you know what your county commission per diem is for a meeting?
In which county? I have 5 of them.
Well, either one. I don't think they're $500. I just think it's excessive, but anyways, I'll be voting.
Mr. Sponsor. All right, I saw Leader Camper down there too.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was just wanted for the record to say this is a permissive bill. This is not the state mandating anything, correct?
Mr. Sponsor.
Yes, that is correct. It only affects 4 utility districts.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thanks, sponsor.
Anyone else? Seeing none with that, I've got a question. I hear no objections. We're going to vote this thing to send House Bill 280 to finance. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Please let you know, be registered with the clerk. You're off to Finance, Ways and Means.
Chairman.
Speaker Johnson with House Bill 798. Sir, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. There is an amendment.
4788.
That's correct.
Let's get you into amended posture and then figure out what we're going to do with this thing. Got a motion and a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? No. You're amended, and let's hear about it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. House Bill 798. The Underground Damage Advisory Committee is made up of 17 members. And what this bill does, it just simply moves the executive board from 3 to 5. That's what it does, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir. Do we have any questions about the advisory board going from 3 to 5? I do not see any. All those in favor, please we're going to vote it then. Any objections? No. All those in favor of moving 798 to calendar and rules, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? No. Ayes have it. You're to calendar and rules, sir. You know, our quorum was such quality, we're moving right along today. House Bill 802 by Speaker Marsh. You're in proper position there, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do have amendment 7102.
Yes, sir. I've got that shown. Got a motion on the amendment? Second. Got a second. Let's get it amended. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No. You're in amended form, sir. Let's hear about it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This bill is from the Tennessee Public Utilities Commission and the 811 group. It amends the Underground Utility Damage Prevention Act to clarify definitions and procedures to provide safer excavation practices around underground facilities. It defines hand digging for the purpose of the act and clarifies when an excavator must contact 811. It defines white lining of the boundaries of the area of proposed excavations to include virtual or digital mapping, and it authorizes 811 to collect data for large projects. With that, I'll answer any questions.
Thank you, sir. I saw Chairman Moon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We put 7102 on the bill, but I think 5165 rewrites the bill.
I think this one reroutes it.
Let me clarify with our fine legal advice we're giving here. You know what? It don't cost nothing. Let's go out of session and hear from our legal counsel.
Levin Middleton, Office of Legal Services. The amendment that was adopted in the subcommittee, this amendment is the same. It just made technical corrections. They both rewrite the bill, so this is still an appropriate amendment.
No worries, sir. Representative Thompson, did I see you flinch down there?
It was, thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's just a question because I did not see 7102 on my screen. I only saw the other one, but I'm willing to accept it. There's just a few technical changes.
All right. We appreciate you playing along with us today, Representative
so
Thompson.
much.
Thank you.
That's what I do.
All right. Thanks a lot. All right. We have heard a description of the bill. Have we got any questions on the contents of the bill itself for Speaker Marsh? Well, let me tell you what. I appreciate you, ma'am. Listen, it takes a village to help this chairman. I'm just going to admit it. It just all you can do for me. I take instructions very well. I do want to say thanks for bringing this, Speaker Marsh, because for those of us that are touched by construction in areas, 811 and white lining and making sure that we don't dig up other people's stuff and cause those outages is important. And with that, we're going to vote on this bill. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed, no. The ayes have it. And you, sir, are off to calendar and rules. Chairman Boyd with House Bill 1060. Motion and a second.
Thank you,
Chairman Boyd, let's hear about it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I do have a couple of amendments, Mr. Chairman. I've got drafting code 5791, which makes the bill, and then I've got another amendment that makes a technical change.
All righty. Let's get those attached, and then let's talk about this in toto. Let's attach first House bill or amendment, drafting code 5791. Motion and second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. That one's amended now 6268.
Motion.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. That's attached. Now let's talk about this whole kit and caboodle, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee. And so members, I'm sure you've heard, whether you go to church or not, the scripture, Matthew 9:37, the harvest is plentiful, but the workers are few. And that kind of describes our workforce in Tennessee right now. Last I checked, there were about 265,000 open jobs in the state and about 117,000 unemployed Tennesseans, around 21,800 that are drawing unemployment benefits. Now, federal law and subsequently state law requires that people that are drawing unemployment search for work in order to be eligible for these weekly unemployment insurance benefits. And so what this bill does, it does two things. It expands the list of work search activities that they can do and raises the threshold from 3 to 5 that they need to do in a week. And it also addresses a problem that we have in the labor market, and that is when people are using job searches in order to secure unemployment benefits, and then they ghost the employer that is waiting on them to show up for a job interview. And so what this bill does is the second part is it addresses that by creating a mechanism by which employers can report that to the Department of Labor. And if that happens, the worker or the the claimant would lose their benefits just for that week. They would not lose them permanently, but that week they would not get any benefits. Mr. Chairman, that's essentially what this bill does. I'll take any questions.
Thank you, sir. And if you could, Chairman Boyd, give us some of the activities that have been added that count towards these contacts.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Absolutely. So a department approved job search or skills assessment, completion of a department approved job search plan, participating in an on-the-job training opportunity, taking a civil service exam, developing a complete resume in the state's unemployment service system, submitting a resume to an employer, completing and submitting a job application to an employer, attending and completing an interview with an employer, attending a job fair, or completing a skills test assigned by an employer as part of an interview process.
Alrighty, thanks. So if somebody is looking for a job and they send out 5 resumes, that's their 5 for the week?
That's correct, Mr. Chairman.
All righty, thank you. That does not seem terribly onerous. Any of those, Chairman Clemens?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, sponsor. I think we've continually seen more requirements for individuals who are struggling. And based on the unemployment numbers cited and those that I've seen, I think we've returned to pre-pandemic levels before they shot up. I know our unemployment trust fund in the state of Tennessee has more money than it ever has before. So I think it's pretty financially stable. And here we again continue to put requirements on individuals who may have a difficult time showing up for a scheduled job interview. I'm sure there are probably a few bad actors out there, but most people across the state of Tennessee, from whom I've heard and heard during the pandemic, don't want state help. They want to make their own way. They want to be a contributing member of our society. And unemployment is generally a last resort for many Tennesseans. But there are Tennesseans who require it, and that's the reason for the trust fund and the reason for the program itself. So you're going to have individuals here who fail to appear for a job interview acting in good faith. They may not be able to afford to drive on Bill Lease toll lanes. They may not have a car. They may not be able to get to an interview on time because of the traffic we have on the roadways, or they may have to get child care for their child or take care of their sick parent. I don't understand why we continue to put hurdles in the way of people who need governmental assistance and are acting in good faith. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir. I don't believe I heard a question in there, but Chairman Boyd, you have a response?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I appreciate those comments. This is not about the solvency of the unemployment trust fund, and unemployment benefits are not intended to be permanent. This is not disability, long-term disability that they're on. The purpose of unemployment is to tide someone over until they can find work, and we're doing this because there are so many available jobs out there, and it is becoming a trend where people are they are applying for a job simply to sustain their benefits, and they're not showing up for work. And so what we're trying to do is to get these Tennesseans plugged in with good employers, high paying jobs here in the state that are available, and get them back gainfully employed. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Vice Chairman Brickens.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My question generally to the sponsor is one kind of for my own education or for the public. How does a person report their activities for job searches? I mean, is that online? Do they have a caseworker? Could you just kind of educate at least me on that process?
Chairman Boyd.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It is done online. That's right. Yeah. And there is generally speaking, they may not have to interact with a person, but if there's a problem, they could. There is a person behind the curtain at Department of Labor that can step in if there is a problem. And it's worth pointing out, some of the anecdotal, examples that my chairman friend from Davidson County gave a minute ago. If something comes up and you can't make it and you have good reason for missing a job interview, there's still provisions in place, and there still is a human being at the Department of Labor that can intervene in that case. But generally speaking, when you submit these, number of job searches or job search activities that you do, it is done online.
Thank you, sir. Any other questions for the sponsors or comments? Representative, is that Representative Alexander? I thought I recognized that Maine. It's good to see you. You're recognized.
Not sure if I like being referred to as a horse, but anyway. Maybe a lion. A lion. would be good. I just wanted to thank the sponsor for this bill. In my community, the biggest request I have had from manufacturers is please, please do something about people job searching and then never showing up. A particular lab that I know well had 20 applicants, 20 possible interviews for a job, and only 2 showed up. So thank you very much for bringing this bill. It's needed.
Thank you, ma'am. And I obviously need some village help on brushing up on my compliments game. Representative Thompson.
I have a question with the sponsor. As I see the amendment, it says that the claimant must provide a detailed information regarding 5 work searches activities. Is that correct?
Mr. Sponsor.
Mr. Chairman, I need to apologize. My chairman friend here from East Tennessee had distracted me, and I didn't hear Representative Thompson's question. If you could ask that again.
Sure.
Please let me know if we need to deploy the sergeant at arms. But Representative Thompson, please.
Okay, the amendment says that the claimant must provide detailed information regarding at least 5 work searches activities per week. Is that correct?
Sponsor.
That's correct, Mr. Chairman.
Representative Thompson.
What can you give me a definition or your thoughts on what detailed information means?
Sponsor.
Well, I think you would absolutely, you would need to tell who you had applied to, what job you had applied for, or if it were one of these other activities that we put in there, you just have to give the details about it. I mean, there's such a long list. You'd have to pick one in particular, Representative Thompson, if you want me to describe to you how that one would be done. But there's a whole list of activities there.
Representative.
Okay, I mean, I'm not just totally comfortable with this. I mean, if it were me doing it, yeah, I could give you a long thesis on each one, but a lot of people out there receiving unemployment benefits are, let's say not highly educated, you might say. They may not be accustomed to presenting, as you say here, detailed information. I'm just not feeling very comfortable about those words and those things. I understand what you're saying or trying to do, but I think maybe that might be a bit more than we should require of some claimants.
And are you closing with that one, Representative Thompson? Okay, thank you. Sponsor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And members, I just need to remind you, unemployment is not intended to be a permanent benefit. The purpose of unemployment is to tide you over, and federal law requires that you seek employment. The purpose of this is to tide you over while you're looking for a new job, and we are creating more opportunities and more activities that qualify you to get the benefits as you're searching for a job. I don't know why anybody would be opposed to helping people find a job, Mr. Chairman.
All righty, any other hands going up? We've had a question requested, so a question we shall get. Without any objections, all those in favor of House Bill 1060, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no? If you're no, please let the clerk know your vote. And House Bill 1060 is off to Finance, Ways and Means. And we're going to continue with the Chairman Boyd show. Oh, never mind. If I would look at my handy dandy box, we're going to roll this one to the 3rd calendar of next year. Now we're going to switch over to Representative Garrett for House Bill 1181. We got a motion and a second, sir. You're traveling with some amendments there, sir, aren't you?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. The amendment that I'd like to move is amendment coded 6596.
All right, that's what we've got. We got a motion on that, and then we got a motion in a second. Let's get that taken care of. All those in favor of amending House Bill 1181 with 6596, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed, no. You are now amended, sir. Tell us about this brief bill that you've put together, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee. This legislation, 1181 as amended, is what is referred to as the Tennessee Information Protection Act. It's a piece of legislation that I've been working on for over 2 years, and it is designed to help consumers as they navigate the internet with a device that I believe most folks have as a smartphone. And what it does and what it is now is you would be simply amazed at the information that a search engine like Google can keep and store data that you allow to be provided to Google, or when you sign up for a particular app like TikTok or Instagram, etc. The amount of information that these entities collect on you is an absolute, you would be amazed. And then on top of that, that information is not protected. The consumer doesn't have a way to know what information is being collected, what information is being sold, what information is being transferred, or information that they would like to be deleted or at least have a copy of. There is no regulations out there, at least in the state of Tennessee, that regulate or provide consumers with rights as it relates to their data that is shared via the internet. There are 4 or 5 states that have enacted this legislation. This legislation mirrors what is the Virginia legislation that has provided consumers with rights as it relates to their data. So with that explanation, with the help of all of our stakeholders, including the Tennessee Chamber, lawyers across the state has weighed in, and we are all at least in an agreement where they're in a neutral position on this particular legislation. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I'll be happy to take any questions and details about this extremely short piece of legislation that you have before you.
It's a simple bill, right?
That's right.
First off, let me say this, Representative Garrett, I want to congratulate you on 2 things. Number one, your cooperative efforts in trying to gain as big a consensus as could be gained by this legislation, and also your dogged determination for not letting, you never spit this bone out your mouth. And so you've started with it last year and have hung on to it. And so we appreciate and respect that. Questions, I see you, Chairman Clemens. We recognize you, sir. And then we've also got Chair Lady Hazelwood after you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I too would like to applaud the chairman for this legislation. Writing a piece of legislation like this and this detailed requires a lot of work. So you're to be commended for that and protecting the individuals and consumers. My 2 questions are, I know the amendments that have been put on the bill do 2 things that I have a question about. One, decreases the civil penalty to $7,500 for each violation. And then the other increases from 100 to 175,000 consumers, the threshold for application of this law. If you could explain the reason for those 2 changes.
Representative Garrett.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That's a good question, Chairman Clemens, and I appreciate that. One of the major challenges of this legislation was the question of who does it apply to? Who are we trying to capture? Who are we trying to make sure that if they collect data on a consumer, that they need to make sure that data is protected? And one of the things that we discussed over and over again was we didn't want to capture the mom and pop shop, the pizza chains where someone might own 2 or 3 pizza shops and they have a customer base. And so one of the points of negotiations was that scope. And so that's the reasons why we've increased, or at least I agreed to increase the scope of the particular legislation from 100,000 to 175 to make sure we don't capture businesses and create a regulatory scheme for a small business that they simply cannot comply with. Even though they're not collecting the data to sell it, to transfer it, et cetera. And so we were very mindful about whom that legislation would apply to. To your first point, I believe, on the fines, I first started out at 15,000 per fine, and that would have been the most across the country. And so we basically mirrored what's already out there traveling through some states at 7,500. So that's how we landed at the 7,500 per incident for the fine of someone breaching someone's data.
Chairman Clemens?
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I realize that these bills of this substance require a lot of negotiation with a lot of different parties. So I appreciate that explanation and thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Chair Lady Hazelwood.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a couple of questions as well. When we're talking about the consumer personal information rights, we're talking about there's child is mentioned. Could you just help us understand what the definition of child in this regard is?
Sponsor?
Thank you, Madam Chairman and Mr. Chairman. And you hit a good point. That's actually how I got involved personally in this legislation. I had a minor living with me. His parents were, well, in a difficult spot. So he was living with us for an extended period of time. And he was actually targeted by Instagram for what information he provided to them. And there was what I would call a pedophile acting as a young lady trying to extort information from this particular young fellow. And then I realized that was an unprotected space. So a child in this instance is a minor child, as we all know, a minor child, that information is also protected by the legal guardian or parent. And so if this was 6 years ago for me, since I was the legal guardian of this particular minor, I would have been able to send information under this particular law, if it was law at that time, to gain what information they had on that minor. And right now, there's no regulation that says I would be entitled to that, even if I was the parent of the child. And so this legislation provides an avenue for me to know exactly what information they have on that child, and then I could request them to delete it, where they would not have that information whatsoever.
Chair Lady?
Thank you. And then the second question, I believe there are a number of exemptions, including nonprofits. Can you help us understand the thinking on that, please?
Sure.
Sponsor?
That has been a huge portion of the exemption process or the negotiation process. There are several exemptions that apply to this. All of the exemptions that are in this deal with a heavy regulated area anyway, like your medical information under HIPAA, your credit reporting information under the various different Equifax, TransUnion, et cetera. That is a highly regulated industry like banking. So those are exempted. For the most part, I would say 99% of the time, these nonprofits don't have the ability to collect the data like an Instagram, like a Facebook, like a TikTok or whatever that's out there that produces this type of data analysis. They don't have controllers or processors that are defined in the legislation. And so that mimics and mirrors other legislation that a nonprofit status is exempt also from the legislation.
Chair Lady?
But there's no, I guess, bar set, because there are some nonprofits that are very sophisticated they're large, they have controllers, they could have the capability, but we don't make any distinction, just not any nonprofit is excluded.
Sponsor?
That's right. And that's actually an area that I'm looking into in the future to see how we can put better guardrails in place for what nonprofits may be out there, but that's just something that I can get to. My sense is with legislation that this is impactful. This is not something that I'm going to give up on for other ways we can guardrail any entities that might be using someone's data in a way that they shouldn't be. Right now, I've asked that question if there are nonprofits out there that are doing this. I haven't been provided that, but my sense is there probably are. And as this legislation moves through not only Tennessee, but other states, my sense is if there are bad actors that are nonprofits, we will be able to identify those and make them a part of this legislation. So that's my goal over the next couple of years as it's traveled through.
Chair Lady?
Thank you for that. And I'm not saying necessarily that they could be bad actors, but again, just holding information that the consumer is unaware of and really would have had no intention of sharing had they been asked that question. But I do thank you for the conversation, and I'm glad to know that while the bone may partially be out of your mouth, you're still hanging on to a corner and you will continue to work on it. So thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you. Any other questions for our sponsor? Seeing none, we're going to vote this. Just think, once we vote on this, you can start punching that button to accept all cookies from every website because Representative Garrett has got your back. All those in favor of passing HB 1181 on to calendar and rules, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. The ayes have it, and we're off to calendar and rules.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee.
That brings us to the final item on our calendar today, not only today, but also for this half session. It is House Bill 296 for Representative Freeman, who is out of town. However, I have signed on to this bill, so I will be running it for Representative Freeman.
Motion on the bill. All right, we have House Bill 296. We have a motion and a second. I think we have three amendments. Chairman, which amendments you want to run?
We need the full Monty, sir. We need all three of them.
All right, we have Amendment 3743. All right, we have a motion and a second. Let's put it on the bill. All in favor, say aye. Aye. The amendment's on the bill. Then we have Amendment 6760. All right, no objections. We'll put it on the bill. All in favor, say aye. Aye. It's on the bill. Then we have Amendment 7100. Any objections? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All right, all three amendments on the bill. Mr. Chairman, it's
Thank
all
you.
yours.
Thank you, Chairman Brickens. The folks were trying to solve a problem that they're experiencing here in Metro Nashville with their building and or particularly their electrical inspection problem. That department has been greatly depleted. The fact is that there's it's actually stymieing progress on construction projects of varying sizes and scopes. Representative Freeman was attempting to resolve this, and what this bill will allow is that if a local jurisdiction wants to, they can allow registered engineers. If you're an electrical engineer, you don't have to take the code's compliance test because frankly, you designed those electrical systems, and you ought to be able to tell whether or not that it is installed with code if you have to design by code. But if another registered engineer from another discipline wants to get into the electrical inspection game, then they can take a ICC test, which is basically the International Code, Building Code Compliance review. And if they pass that, then that could allow them to also do these inspections. This is a permissive bill for local jurisdictions to opt into if they want to, but this provides a path by which that we can orderly, hopefully take care of some of the backlogs, particularly here in Davidson County with the building boom and employee shortage. So that was the quest that we were on. We think we've got the bill in good position. We've taken input from Commerce and Insurance as well as yours truly. And so we think we're ready to go with this. And if there's any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Representative Williams, a question?
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Chairman Vaughn. As some of you may know, in my full-time job, I'm in the construction business and had the opportunity to spend a little bit of time in the space here in Davidson County. And communicating with electrical inspectors here, they'll walk in on a typical Monday morning and have 1,200 inspections to do for the week. After one day's work with only 5 inspectors, they'd end up with 1,400 on Tuesday. It's just an unbelievable, insurmountable problem that they have there because there are just not enough people to train to do these inspections. And so what ends up happening is construction projects are not able to be delivered on time within budget because it costs a lot of money. I want to thank the chairman and Representative Freeman for this bill. I think it's going to help in a permissive fashion a lot of the communities across our state as Tennessee continues to be the #1 for growth. These are the kind of things that make Tennessee better. So thank you.
Any response, Chairman?
Well, if anybody else would like to compliment me in the bill, please feel free to speak up. I'm ready to receive them.
We have a question on the bill. Seeing no objections, let's vote on House Bill 296. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? House Bill 296 goes on the calendar and rules, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. First off, I want to thank that concludes our calendar for this half session. I want to thank everyone for your attendance, for your participation. I still think that the speaker lets me drive the best committee in the House, and I enjoy working with you folks all the time because it's a joy and pleasure to get to sit up here. I also want to thank our Sergeant at Arms, Mr. Reuben Sanders, for making sure that all you people behave yourselves, including me. Hey, there are many times I kind of get the side eye from him and I say, whoa, too much. I also want to thank our clerks for this half session, Mason Hiskey and Ava Woodard, for your participation with us. We also love our trustee analyst, Owen Rosenberg. Levin Middleton Dunn provides us expert legal advice, and if she needs to tag out, then Mr. Matt King comes in. And then we'll also give a shout out to the person who makes sure that the gavel is in the box each day when we come downstairs, and that's Rachel Bennett over here, my legislative assistant. And so with that, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to, sorry, Speaker Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to say what an honor it has been to serve with you on this committee. I think you've done an excellent job, and I'm going to miss spending my Tuesday mornings with you.
We might can do something. Let's compare calendars. We might do something more fun than this on Tuesday mornings moving forward. Anyone else? Anyone else? Yes, Leader Camper.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to give you accolades for that last bill you just passed. I wasn't I wasn't in the room, but it has been an honor to serve with you, Mr. Chairman. We have fun in your committee. We take care of business, but we do have a good time. People come and feel like their voices can be heard. So I appreciate, serving on this committee, and look forward to continue to work with you and team as we move forward. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members.
Thank you, ma'am. It doesn't cost us anything to treat anybody with a little kindness, dignity, and respect. So that's what we're always going to try to do from here. And with that, folks, let's move through our day. We'll wish you well. We're adjourned. Until the call, we're subject to the call of me, the chairman. Thank you.